I just picked up a free mooring in my first anchorage since launching my boat from the boatyard. I spent 3 weeks replacing my stuffing box, adding some new through holes for cockpit drains, and everything is in working order, no leaks, so I'm going to relax and enjoy my first evening on the water in a couple weeks. A wake came by and hit my boat, and I noticed there was water sloshing under my floorboard, which obviously is supposed to have been fixed by now. So I panicked, thought that I somehow fucked up the stuffing box, which wouldn't surprise me. Tore everything out of the las again, went below, there was a ton of water. Can't really tell if it's coming from the stuffing box or not, but then I saw this little persistent drip coming from the front of the engine. So I went to the front of the engine and I was looking and I was like, please don't be the stuffing box, or maybe I want it to be, I'm not really sure, whichever one is less bad. So it's something to do with the raw water pump. So the first thing I'm going to do is check the impeller. So I've pumped all the water out from under the engine again. I've shut off the seacock so that no more water can come in, and now I'm going to open this guy up and see what it looks like inside. Okay, the impeller looks pretty happy, although there is a lot of corrosion around the edge here, which kind of makes me think that there's something funky going on with the seal. It also looks like this hose is falling off, so I'm going to try to get this guy back on better. Okay, one thing that I am noticing... Oh my gosh. Why is there a front-facing camera on the new GoPro? I don't want to see that I have dirt on my face. I just want to be frustrated. One thing that I have noticed in taking off the impeller front bit is that the paper gasket, which is usually there, or which is supposed to be there, has disintegrated. It's not there anymore, and I don't know if this would be what would cause it to leak, but it certainly won't help. So I'm gonna, oh no, I'm just gonna not look at that. I'm gonna see, I know I have replacement impellers, but I'm not sure if I have the replacement paper thingy. So I'm gonna see if I have those and then go from there. I don't have the paper gasket, so I'm going to make one. All right, here are my charts. This one is Tahiti. All right, Tahiti, I don't think we need the top right corner of you. So I've kind of done a rubbing with the dirt from my hands. You can see the inner and outer diameters of this. I'm just gonna cut it off now. All right, the new gasket is here. I'm using this tool because these are a little corroded and I need a really wide screwdriver. And this is the widest one that I own. So it gets the most purchase on these heads, which are a little soft, and then I don't strip anything out. I've retightened this guy. Now what I'm going to do is turn the water back on and see if it still drips. Then I opened the seacock again, and just with the engine sitting still, not running, there are no leaks. The next thing I did was turn the engine on, and as soon as it started going, water just started almost pissing out of this pump here. So clearly there's something wrong with the pump. I think it needs to be rebuilt, and I think it needs new seals in it. But when it's just sitting, no water's coming out. I'm sort of trying to listen to it, and I don't hear anything. So I think it's a problem for tomorrow. Today is my first day waking up on the water, and I should be so excited, but I'm not. So the chart seal that I made in the impeller worked enough to let me know that that wasn't the problem. I can either buy a set of replacement seals and have someone rebuild the pump for me, or I can replace the whole pump. The problem is trying to source this in French Polynesia, and while I'm waiting, I really shouldn't use my engine at all. So I'm kind of back to where I was before I hauled out. I'm only going to use my engine if I'm holy shit about to run aground on a reef, but otherwise I'm back to sailing on and off anchor, sailing in and out of passes, and just having my engine for absolute emergencies. So I've been texting with some of my friends, and somehow, unbelievably, they have the pump that I'm looking for. So tomorrow, the wind is from the northwest, I'm making popcorn, which is the perfect wind direction to sail east. to Moorea. Moorea is 100 miles to the east. So I'm gonna leave tomorrow morning, sail to Moorea, try to not use my engine for the whole time. And then use their pump, and if I am able to source a pump in French Polynesia, then I'll buy it and give it to them. But in the meantime, while I'm searching for the pump, I'll have an engine that works and I can sail my boat and life. It's glassy flat this morning. There's not a breath of wind. Houston, we have wind. All right, so my plan is I can sail out of here slowly, but I won't have to turn on the engine. I'm going to hopefully be able to just sort of drift sail. I'm guessing I'm not going to crack 2 knots, but I don't care. Out of here, and then once I get away from land, I'll see what the breeze is doing. If it's enough to get to Moorea, I'll just go for it and hopefully get in sometime tomorrow before dark. If it's not enough to go to Moorea, I'll just stop at Huahine. Alright, I'm pretty much ready to get underway. I have all my sails set up, and I'm gonna leave the seacock open for the raw water cooling until I get away from land, just in case something happens and I have to start the engine. There is a lot of current around here and there's not a lot of wind right now, so it's possible that I'm gonna get set onto something nasty. As soon as I'm safely away from land, I'm going to turn off the seacock, and then I shouldn't have any leaks in my engine for the duration of the sail. Alright, I'm going to raise the main and sail off the mooring. Successfully have the sails up. I'm underway. So far so good. I'm going about 2.3 knots, which is a lot more than I expected to be going. I really hope that the wind gets me out the pass and hopefully fills in a little bit so I can get to Moorea. I have about 30 hours of wind before it totally dies, so it's a little bit of a gamble, but it's worth it. The alternative is sitting here, and that's boring.
If you're in a hurry, you're missing the point. Should enjoy the fruits of life instead of chasing coins. Because it's a beautiful day. Isn't it? So come on, let's play.
Out of the pass. I just took a huge wave all the way back into the cockpit. It's kind of crazy. The depth is dropping, which is nice, and I'm just sailing close hauled to get away from land, and then I'll turn off and get on my course. But I want to get to the edge of the shelf break before I turn off, because yeah, you know, things aren't charted very accurately around here, so it's better to play it safe than sorry. First leg of the journey is awesome. I didn't have to start my engine, which is really good. Once I go on course and put the wind vane on, I'm gonna go below and turn off the seacock that gives the engine its salt water so that that doesn't leak, and hopefully I'll have a dry bilge for the whole trip.
this morning, but I'm not ready to get up yet. Last night there was another, I think it was a sailboat that was pretty much on the exact same course that I was, and we were very slowly coming together. Since I don't transmit AIS, I took it on as my responsibility to change course, to get out of their way. They were also setting off my AIS alarm and I wanted to sleep. I didn't want to be looking at them. So I altered course to go a little north of Moorea. So now I'm a bit north. I'm gonna have to drive over pretty soon to get down, but it only added about 5 or 6 miles to my whole trip, which isn't a big deal. Getting everything out for my breakfast. I have peanut butter and banana because that's pretty much all the fresh fruit I have on my boat. I know I keep pounding that one home, but it's true. Coffee is on the boil, and I have my little thermos here. I'm just gonna grab a cup. And then I'm ready for a lovely breakfast in the cockpit. But I'm underway. I like to use this mug because it has a very round, flat bottom and a sturdy base. I'm in the pass right now. It's a little bit rolly and the wind is dead behind, so I'm switching the main, but I have to prevent it, which means I have to leave the tiller, so it's a little bit stressful. But I am getting pushed in. I mean, dead downwind isn't bad, at least it's not on the nose, and just taking it one step at a time. First step is to get past this first set of buoys. Try not to fluff my sail apart. Hello! Holly!
I met your sister in Hawaii.
Really?
Driving.
Oh, that's so crazy. We'll have to talk once I'm anchored. My motor's a little bit broken, so... This was nuts. The woman on that boat met my sister in Hawaii, which was crazy, but I was a little bit preoccupied because, as you can see, this is quite a busy anchorage. It was also, the oyster rally had stopped over in Moorea, and I was anchoring and sailing amongst several large, expensive, beautiful looking oysters that just sort of upped the ante a little bit because I feel like their paint job probably costs more than my whole boat. I mean, easily would, and I would hate to crash into one of them. Anyway, I managed to come up, pick the anchoring spot. I anchored in about 12 feet of water, back to the main to back my boat down on the anchor itself, and got everything turned off, and finally have finished my trip all the way from Raiatea to Moorea, about 110 miles, no engine the entire way. Alright, first morning in Moorea. It's so nice to be back here. I really do love this anchorage. I'm feeling a little crispy from the sun. I was in Maine for a month and then in the boatyard for almost a month, and my skin just isn't used to this anymore, but it's so pretty outside. Every day for the past 3 days, ever since I discovered this problem, I've been feeding the bolts that hold the raw water pump with PB Blaster in anticipation of eventually having to get them off. One of the bolts came off pretty easily. I just sort of tested it. And the other one is pretty rusted. I have realized that to get this last bolt off, I need to create my own tool. I am able to get a socket onto the bolt. However, it just barely wedges in, and it's such a small space that I can't get any sort of driver onto the socket itself. So basically what has to happen is that I needed to find a piece that fit into the socket that I could cut to the right length and then use a pair of vice grips to hold on to that piece and turn the socket itself. So I've hammered this socket on here, that's this guy, and you can just see there's just this tiny amount of space. Well, actually, here we go, let's look at it straight on. So the pump is in the way. I can't get anything in here because it's just not enough room. And I even tried, oh gosh, where is it? Like, okay,
this adapter piece too long. And then even this little guy, the angle is too big because it sticks out a little bit, so that wasn't gonna work. So what I did was I went to the hardware store. Where did I put it? Bought something and lost it. Here it is. I went to the hardware store and I found this. It's a driver bit for a drill, but it has the square end and it fits into the back of the socket. This is a different size, but same set. And what I've done is I've marked off here with Sharpie. That's about as tall as it can be for it to fit between the pump and the socket that's currently in place. So I'm going to cut this off and then take a pair of vice grips, grip them onto the little nub that's sticking out, and hopefully turn this bolt out. Alright, let's see how long this takes. 17 minutes. And we have 2 pieces of bolt. That was expected. Now I'm gonna hope that I didn't make this too long and see if I can fit it in the engine. First, I'm probably gonna take a break. It's sweaty. Okay, I made it a good length and there's enough on it for me to get the vice grips on. The alternative, if this doesn't work, is to put vice grips on the socket itself, but this is sort of a way to preserve the socket from getting scratched up and to get the vice grips just a little more out, so hopefully I have a little bit more play in where I can put them, where I can attach them to, versus if I'm going on the socket, then I really don't have that much room in the engine, so that's why I'm doing this method first. It's a new day. Yesterday I had a friend come over with strong man muscles and get the stuck bolt off. He used the socket and the tool that I devised, so that was cool. And today after breakfast I'm going to hitchhike into the next bay over to my friends who have the replacement pump for me. Alright, I'm here on Grace with Dave and Helen, and right now we are going to take apart my old raw water pump and see what the problem is, and also I'm getting a lesson in how these things are put together.
So the question is, how?
Yeah, this guy looks okay.
Yeah,
I think I replaced him
right.
in Panama, so he's not that old.
The cracks. I have read some recommendations. Basically, if you take the impeller out and then just leave it for a while, if they stay bent, then it's old.
Oh, interesting.
But to be honest, it spends a lot of time
Bent.
without moving on your boat.
Yeah,
you don't use the engine a lot.
Most of the time it's not
so
moving.
the chance of it not being.
Oh yeah, that's a screwdriver.
This is the new raw water pump. Meanwhile, we're going to try to take mine apart, but if we can't fix it, at least we have this guy to replace it with.
Pull those bearings out. I think when I did this before, I was slightly destructive, and I hammered it. I hammered the shaft out.
Well, I mean, it's broken anyway. It's a complimentary nose ring that you get with your impeller. Ooh!
Right, okay. So there's the bearings. Yeah. So that supports the shaft. You can feel how gritty that one.
Oh yeah. Is that all one seal? The 2 rings? It's all connected.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I've got a spare I can show you actually.
And it has a little metal inside of it.
There's a bit of a kind of coil spring. You can imagine if you get a screwdriver in there and oink it out, all that's going to happen is it just deforms it. That's why it's more normal to push them out. But without,
I see.
So,
but without taking off that screw.
Without taking off that back plate, you can't. I wonder if I can.
Vibrating, Dave.
Yeah, that's not going to shift without a lot of oil and junk.
Persuasion. It's just the light hammer.
There we go, it's starting to come out
Ooh!
now.
Oh yeah!
So you get.
It's angled.
So if you, it looks like.
So something's wrong because the water is dripping out of the drip hole.
So it's these seals. They don't last forever. So
What the technical word is buggered.
Deformed. is a message for Mr. March. The dress code was scruff. Dave has beautifully represented what I have requested, so no making fun of him.
So what do you normally do on a Sunday morning?
Standing party.
Standing party, yeah.
It did lose some of its integrity when I was gently tapping it with a hammer.
You start off with all best intentions to go as gentle as possible
With a
before you
light
know.
hammer and not a serious hammer.
Well, I only have one hammer.
Like this big
Yeah, my mallet.
yeah, I use it for fence posts.
After a lovely morning of Dave and Helen helping me get their spare pump up and running, they fed me lunch and then I went on my way. They were taking off later that evening to sail further west, and I headed back to my boat to install the pump.
Okay, I'm back here with my engine. Sweaty, it's a hot day. First, what I'm doing is cleaning up the engine side of this fitting area, making sure that it's nice and clean and smooth so that I get a good seal when I attach the pump. I have assembled grease and liquid thread tape for reinstalling all of the bolts and the piping. So I'm going to apply that, grease up the water pump end a little bit, and put it all back together. Let's see how it goes. Then we're gonna start this puppy up and see what happens. Oh my god, I have a functional engine again. This is like so amazing. It's a little past 6 in the morning and I'm moving from Opinohu Bay in Moorea, which is where I am right now, around the corner to Cook's Bay. It will be good to use the engine to sort of test it out and make sure that there are no more leaks. So normally I might put a sail up, but this time I'm just going to use engine and see how it looks when I get in. Almost ready to go. I just come far enough away from the mountains that the sun is out. Oh gosh, it's beautiful.
So far so good, no leaks coming from my engine, which means that the pump fix is holding. As long as it's not leaking initially, it should work, and it should work anyway because I fixed it properly, so yeah. I've arrived, anchor's down. It's a little squally now, but they sort of come swinging through and then it's blue skies again, so no worries there. Beautiful as always. I love Cook's Bay. Thanks for watching this week's episode. I put out new episodes on YouTube every 2 weeks, and for my patrons, you guys get a snack on the weeks that I don't put out a full-length YouTube episode. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/windhippie. For one-time donations, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/windhippie. I am committed to bringing these videos to you guys ad-free, so my only income comes from the very generous donations that I receive from you, my viewers, so thank you guys so much for helping me make this journey possible and make it so that I don't have to stop to work, so I can continue to share these adventures with you guys. If you'd like to join the Wind Hippie Sailing Merchandise Club, there's a link in the info below to my online shop. Let's all wear our t-shirts on Mondays together. Thank you, Tish, for helping me get these videos scheduled on YouTube. Thank you guys for your lovely comments, and I will see you next week, patrons, with a snack, YouTubers in another 2 weeks with a full-length episode. Bye!